Do you pivot that into an agent and manager then? Or?
No, I've still never had an agent or a manager.
You still never have?
Yes, thank you.
To this day?
But I'm looking.
Are you serious?
No, yeah, I'm serious.
How is that possible?
I don't know. I've given up trying to figure out why. I spent 10 years staring at myself in the mirror trying to figure out why. But
that sounds
I don't
impossible.
Know. Thank you. I chased them like a fucking demon for so long.
Really?
Yeah.
And none ever came to your solo shows or anything?
They came, I think, sometimes, but nothing ever happened.
Fascinating. Mm-hmm. Well, good for you to do all this without it.
Thank you.
I mean, it saved you 10%.
I know, right?
That's great.
Yeah. So, yeah, I've given up on
that's insane.
Trying to figure out why, but it nearly drove me insane.
So how do you get success then? Did you book any shows while you were in New York?
I had a bunch of auditions. I heard once that the casting person from 30 Rock had seen my show.
Okay,
Katya Blickfeld, who's now the creator of High Maintenance,
right?
The wonderful show, and she's a lovely person. I heard that she had seen my show because I had a friend who was a casting director. I heard through the grapevine that she had seen it. So I sent her, back in the days of the headshots and the desperate mailings, because I did so many of those.
Yeah.
I sent her.
We all have.
Yeah. I sent her a thing that was like, I heard you saw my show. You're welcome. Or something like that. Just some genius. Shitty thing. I'm sure it changed your life. Whatever. So then eventually she called me a bunch of times for 30 Rock. And at some point I had enough of a reel to scrape together enough footage to scrape together into a reel, and then I saw on Backstage that they were casting this movie that I really wanted to go in for. Then a part was actually perfect for me.
Okay.
Or I may have seen the breakdowns. There was a point where I was getting the breakdowns, surreptitiously, and I couldn't.
But how do you submit to those if
you don't? You just read them and go insane. Or sometimes if it was a casting person I knew. I got the advice at some point, or I read it in an article or something, to target casting directors as opposed to agents.
Oh, of course.
Which was much more fruitful.
But if you're getting them surreptitiously, which we all have that, I feel like, or we some of us do.
You go through phases.
But how do you
do it for a while and your connection?
How can you submit to that?
Because
that's where the story's going, right? Because you saw this role in a movie.
Yeah.
I interrupted mid-story. Finish the story.
I found the casting director. I Googled her. It was in the early days. It was several years ago, early days of Facebook. And I found her Facebook page, and that was it. So I emailed her, and I was like, hey, I saw your... first of all, apologies if this is not what you use Facebook for. I saw this breakdown. I'm perfect for this part. I don't have an agent or manager. Here's my reel. Peace. And then I got called in. And then
peace emoji?
No.
That would have been
this
awesome.
was way before the peace emoji.
Still would have been awesome. Peace.
She called me in just to find out where I'd gotten that emoji from. So she called me in.
Wow. She wasn't pissed or anything?
She wasn't. She was like, you're funny. If you weren't funny, I wouldn't have called you in.
The odd thing is, if you're bold, I feel like a lot of people respect that.
Yeah. And I mean, for every one of those stories, there are 50 stories where I embarrass myself and...
Right, but it's not like they chastised you or anything.
No, you just never hear anything. Right. You spend your life being like, Will Ferrell's never going to work with me because I gave him a note on the street that time.
Right, but who cares? I've reached for the stars on this podcast.
Of course.
You don't hear from them. Who cares?
Who cares? That's the thing. That's what I had to learn is the main lesson is who
cares. Because if you're, like you said, especially if you don't have an agent manager, nobody's going to promote you. You have to be your biggest proponent.
Yeah.
So who cares?
Who cares?